The year was 1945, and the Soviets were marching into the German city of Königsberg. They took it over, they expelled all the Germans, and they expelled one group of Germans known as the Kantians. These people were followers of Immanuel Kant, who was a famous philosopher who wrote a lot about, morality and reason. You don't have to know that much about Kant to understand this video or to understand what's going on here. Just know that these people, they acted like him, they dressed like him, they tried to speak like him, and all of this despite the fact that Kant hadn't lived in the city for over 100 years. These people were just such large fans of his philosophy that they based their whole lives around it. They were expelled, and so what did they do? They moved to Paraguay, and they started a city, I'm not kidding, called New-Königsberg. As a matter of fact, today, Königsberg is now on the map as Kaliningrad. It's still a Russian city, but if you go to Paraguay and you zoom in, you will see New-Königsberg. Crazy. What might be even crazier is that their colony was successful. They lived there and they succeeded. They were mainly agrarian, but all of these Kantian philosophies, all these ideas stuck with them. And so they were successful. And after a few years, they hosted a French Kant expert by the name of Jean-Baptiste Botul. He flew to Paraguay to deliver a series of talks all about Immanuel Kant because he was an expert on everything Kant. He wrote, actually, let me grab it. He wrote this book called The Sex Life of Immanuel Kant. This is a philosopher who died in the 1800s. This guy, over 100 years later, is writing about his sex life. Insane. I actually haven't really read this because it's in French, but if you guys know of an English translation, let me know. Anyways, so this is crazy, right? These people who are dedicated, nobody is dedicated that much to a philosopher, but they were, and Botul especially was. He was the foremost expert. He went through every archive. He read every journal. This guy knew everything there was to know about Kant. Getting back to the lectures, though, the bottom line is that Kant was a weird guy, and he wrote all about it in this book. Bizarre things like he would try to minimize the amount of sweat he produced, so he would only go outside at night, and a lot of weird sexual stuff that I won't get into on this channel. But again, go ahead and read the book if you're interested. But his thoughts were written down, not by him. This is just a collection of the speeches. And this speech has been brought up a lot, these lectures, because they kind of can be used as a character attack, right? Kant was objectively a weird guy. And so, if you're being like, oh, I really believe in his philosophy, his outlook on the world, and then you turn around and this guy doesn't shave on Wednesdays because he thinks it's bad luck, that's absurd, right? But again, you read the book, it's crazy. But it's you have to separate the art from the artist, I guess is what some people say. So anyways, again, where am I going with this, right? Botul wrote this book. It was published a little while later, I'm not sure when. And it's constantly being used by people who don't like Kantian philosophy. One person specifically who does not like Kantian philosophy, and if you're French, you'll know his name, Bernard-Henri Lévy, okay? This guy, BHL, I'm going to call him because I can't speak French and I don't want to try to pronounce it. BHL is he's a modern day figure, he's still alive, and he's a big TV personality in France. If you watch French TV, political debates, he manages to insert himself in pretty much everything. I'm sure he's talking somewhere right now with a nice unbuttoned shirt, a few buttons. He's probably in some war zone in Gaza or something like that. Again, not something that we need to dive into, but the point is, he was a relatively respected figure. Some people even call BHL a philosopher in his own right. And he cited this book in one of his takedowns of Kantian philosophy. I'm just going to read this excerpt from a French newspaper article about the event. It says, on page 122, he draws the fatal weapon, the research of Kant on a certain Jean-Baptiste Botul, who is said to have definitively demonstrated in the aftermath of the Second World War in his series of lectures to the Neo-Kantians of Paraguay that their hero was a false abstraction, a pure spirit of pure appearance. And BHL continues his implacable diatribe against the author of the Critique of Pure Reason, quote, the philosopher without body and without life par excellence. The only problem is that this book is fake. Botul never existed, and this whole thing is just a journalistic ruse. There are no Neo-Kantians, New-Königsberg, none of it. It didn't exist. All of it was fabricated as part of this book, right? It's a hoax. And what's crazy is that it's an obvious hoax. If you Google Jean-Baptiste Botul, the top thing that comes up is that he's a fictional philosopher, and yet people continuously cite him. Every year, the Botul Foundation, which is created by the journalist who created the guy, they give an award to people who cite Botul. It's just so ridiculous. All it is a simple Google search, and yet all of these well-respected people fall for it. It's crazy, and it's a pretty, I mean, I don't know if it's big in France, but a lot of the stuff that I was reading about was in French. In the French world, I think they take philosophy a lot more seriously because there's a lot of French philosophers, especially in the 20th century. Another Botul classic, Nietzsche and the Midday Demon. I got these books for like $4 on Amazon, and I just kind of take photos to Google Translate them, but I like the covers. They're a nice thing to have. Anyways, I just think it's fascinating. I think it's funny. There's some other stories in the US. There's a fictional Brown professor. There's a lot of like little things like that. And I don't know, I like hoaxes and I like academic stuff. So it's a funny combo to be like, yeah, have you not read the new Botul book? And then he doesn't exist. I don't know. This is a short video. I forgot to mention a really funny part, which is that Botulism is just botulism. It's just a play on words. It's so ridiculous. There's not much else to say about Botul, you know, but it's cool and I figured people might like to know. So have a good one, everybody. Thanks for watching. He's laying in the pile of clean laundry. He's going to get cat hair all over it. So look at that rainbow going on. It's because we have this window film set up. Anyways, thanks for watching, everybody, and feel free to check out my other videos. If you like philosophy, that's hard because I don't have any other videos about philosophy, but maybe watch a geography video or something.